I started smoking cannabis when I was 8, which is way too young. A bad person again. I might end up snapping and hurting somebody. That's not good. So um, when I retired, I wanted to kill myself. I mean, I went to jail when I was in the UFC because the DEA raided my house. I wasn't.
Hello and welcome to the Mouth and the Mind podcast. I'm your host Joe, joined as always by Mr. Darren McCann.
What's up?
And our special guest for this evening is Mr. Ian McCall. How are you doing, Ian?
Doing very, very well. Life is beautiful. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad, thanks
Absolutely
very
fantastic.
much. So I suppose the best place to start any podcast really is at the start. So Ian, how did you get into MMA? What was your journey like?
Oh man. I started doing Kung Fu when I I started karate when I was 4. And then I started Kung Fu. I liked that better. It was a little more violent. And I could just see the flaws in karate to start. And my dad wasn't a fighter, but he was an avid fan of boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I mean, he went to Thailand a bit and loved watching the fights. He always knew wrestlers were the toughest guys around. So it was like, they saw that I had a penchant for violence. I was a violent little kid. I was tiny, always trying to prove myself. I was lucky. Fighters aren't usually bred in the sort of situation I grew up in. I grew up in a very affluent area in Orange County, California. I grew up on the beach. I grew up with everything a kid would want. It's very spoiled. But I used that to my advantage, and I knew I wanted to be. Once I saw UFC, I was like, "Oh yeah, I can do this. I love this. This is what I want to do." So I had all the best trainers, all the best coaches, all the best diets. My mother was a chef. So she was always cooking healthy food for me. My dad's a very healthy person. I had the best my whole life. So realistically, I guess it was kind of unfair, the fact that I had a good home on the beach. I had all this nice stuff. I was spoiled. But sometimes that as far as for fighting goes, you don't get many fights there. But I grew up, like I said, on the beach and fighting culture with a lot of pro surfers. I suck at surfing. I've spent my whole life on the water, and I still suck at it. So I was the guy on the beach. If you know much about surfing culture, you be getting a lot of fights. So yeah, I mean, this was a weird space and time where rich kids or whatever you want to call us could get good at fighting. Because realistically, MMA is kind of a rich kid sport. It's expensive. It's very expensive. And just took it from there. I went pro at 18. They tried to make me go pro at like 16, and it just didn't happen. Thankfully. But I went pro at 18. They're like, "Hey, you're a man now. You want to go fight a real man?" I was like, "Oh, sure." And then I fought a man, and he hit really hard, really hard. Jerry Sampson. I love that guy. And it was a weird road because there was no money in it. I was, doing it for fun just because I liked it. My older brother was doing it as well. So when he went pro at 18 and I was 15. So, I had, your older sibling is usually, if you have good siblings, they're the coolest people in the world. Like my brother was the coolest person I'd ever met, so I just followed his footsteps, and then, he went into the family business and I just kept with fighting. He was kind of too early. There was no money in it. And I played the long game and pulled it off. And it was I fought for 16 years as a professional. It was a really long time. Man, makes me feel old. But thank God it's over. It's one of those things. I'm so happy it's over. I'm just, whew, man, now I get to do other stuff. It's more fun.
God, you don't hear many retirees saying, "Thank God it's over." Do you ever regret going into fighting, or is it always like, obviously you said you love fighting? I suppose you never work a day in your life if you love your job, but do you ever
Yeah,
regret
I
it?
am. No regrets. No regrets because I love martial arts. Fighting made me a monster. I mean, realistically, fighting made me an actual monster. I was a psycho. I had to be crazy to be that person, to accomplish those things. I'm not saying everyone does, but I had to be. I had to be a psycho. I know most fighters have to be that person. You really have to be a piece of shit to do that, because that's how you have to climb into a cage in your underwear and fight someone for blood money on replay for the whole world to see. You're a very traumatized person just to begin with getting in there. That why are you here in the first place? And then it's our job to give and receive PTSD the whole time. It's on TV. It was, yeah, man. Yeah, the more I think, it's something I study a lot of stuff. I'm an actual scientific researcher now. When I find something, I'm obsessed with things, and that's why I became the best at fighting. I was obsessed. But I love studying things like martial arts, science, and to understand where all this stuff comes from, and to kind of see how far I went away from that. I like to use myself as just an example to young fighters. Like, look, you don't have to do what I did. You don't have to do it that way. It was a lot of fun, and it was a shit show, and it was good entertainment. But like, I, I'm not proud of what I did. I'm not proud of who I was. Now I'm proud of something. I have my life's work, and psychedelics and healing and all this stuff. So yeah, it's a weird spot that I'm in, I guess.
You've kind of come full circle, it sounds, from being paid to inflict damage on people, and now your job is healing people and helping people. It's kind of, or not a
Yeah,
full circle, the polar
you
opposite
know, I,
type.
I was a prize fighter. I've gone on the my mission. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 23 years, and I still don't have a black belt. That's because I always said, "Hey, coach, black belts are stupid. I'm gonna go get a gold one." And then I got a gold one, and it gave me absolutely nothing outside of a bad attitude and some money, a little bit of fame, um, some cool stories, I guess. But like, I missed the martial arts in it, and that's where I'm back now. Is I'm back searching for the martial artist in me to try and teach this stuff and be the educator and just be this person of service to my community, because MMA is full of craziness and nonsense and stuff that's not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to get mad at it, but it's just the game. But I want to just help people live a little bit differently. At least have a different outlook on the way they can accomplish these things, and also how to protect themselves and how to understand what they're doing to themselves, uh, the whole time.
Would you ever, you were just saying there, you had to be crazy to do what you did, and they say all fighters have a mean streak in them, but do you say you would have to hate the person you were fighting getting into the octagon, or were you one of those people who would kind of split it between a job and a fight?
No, I didn't have to hate you. It's a job. I got off on violence. Like that's still deep inside my cells, my being is violence. And again, I work in psychedelics. I work in healing. I have to do a lot of work to check my ego to pull that back, because I haven't been violent to anyone in a long time. But oh my God, I snapped on someone the other day. I fucking forgot about this. Holy shit. Some guy, I had just left the gym. I was just like, on a good one. And some guy, walking into Whole Foods, and there's all of 4 people walking into Whole Foods around the thing to go in. There's a lot of space in there. And I'm walking, and I grab a thing, a little, basket. And this guy, like, kind of like, I don't really, I guess he's behind me, and he pulls in front of me and stops and looks at me and goes, "Hey." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's really fucked up, man." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You cut me off." And I was like, we're driving, like, we're pulling the parking lot. But I'm sorry. He goes, "No, for that basket." And I was like, I was like, oh, you need to get the fuck away from me right now. I was like, no, not today, you fucking idiot. And he's just like, well, and I was like, no, you're a pussy, please, you need to leave my general vicinity. Get the fuck away from me right now. And then I looked at some lady and she was like, uh-oh. And I was like, I'm sorry. You just, I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you're an idiot. Please go away. I was like, oh my God. That's the meanest I've gotten to someone in I don't know how long. People have tried to fight me during COVID. Some guy tried to fight me at Starbucks, and I thought it was hilarious. I've learned to pull back on all that stuff. I mean, I'm also smoking pot constantly. I microdose psychedelics constantly, and it helps. You know, it helps me be a better person, a better, nicer person. I'm doing breath work and meditation and yoga and all this stuff because, like I said, that psychopath is still in here, and it's not going anywhere, no matter how much work I do. So it's about about playing nice. You got to dance with the tiger sometimes. You know, like I'm like I was telling you guys earlier. I've been through some of the most traumatic stuff in my life recently, like gnarly, and I just tack it in there, and I just don't deal with it. And I know as a professional, I have to deal with that stuff. Otherwise, it's going to make me a bad person again. I might end up snapping and hurting somebody. That's not good. So I booked a week-long ayahuasca and mushroom retreat in Mexico in a couple of weeks. You know, certain things that I feel like I have to do. You know, my daily work. Otherwise, I'm not happy. I'm not this shining ray of light that you see in front of you now.
Have you ever done that ayahuasca before? Because I've heard
Yeah.
about that. That's meant to be like life changing.
It is, and it was, and she taught me a lot of stuff. I can't wait to meet her again. They call her the grandmother, and she comes to you in a few different forms, or she can. And we have a lot of work to do because I've only sat with her once. And people are like, "What, bro? Only one time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been doing psychedelics in the space as a professional only over the last couple of years." But you know, I've known about ayahuasca forever, and people think like, "Oh, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do all of them, all psychedelics like in 1 year." It's like, hold on, that's not how you should do it. You should need to take your time. I've had the reverence for it for this long, and I finally did it. I mean, mine was still a little rushed, even though I was very well prepared for it. So, you know, I tell people like, look, take your time. You know, you sit with one psychedelic itself for a little bit, bigger dose, smaller dose, microdose, and kind of work with it to get the most out of it, to get your best breakthroughs with these medicines. That's what I preach: is start big and then work your way small and kind of modulate like a heartbeat, with certain upticks with dosing when you're trying to get a good breakthrough.
So I know on Ariel Hawani in 2012 you talked about your overdose on prescription medication. Do you believe that psychedelics and, as you said, weed should be used in fighting instead of the likes of just prescribing fighters Xanax and stuff like that for injuries?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wish we could see all. I'm sure we could. What was in my old USADA tests, like what drugs were in my system. I was on par. I was taking a lot of pills. I was just taking a lot of drugs, a lot of cocaine, all kinds of stuff back then. And yeah, those drugs are bad. Those drugs are party drugs. Those drugs are prescription drugs. They're just really, really bad for you. And you know, the cannabis and the psychedelics, which UFC doesn't test for. They don't test for cannabis anymore, which is great. And I know that's going to come down to which commission, what part of the world you're in, that deals with cannabis. But yeah, these two things, specifically mushrooms and cannabis, can save your life realistically. Like, this is scientific fact. Okay, because they're going to help with your immune system. They're going to help with your inflammation. They're going to help with your performance. They're going to help with a lot of stuff. And they're just going to make you a happy, better person. So why not? And you know, we don't want athletes taking steroids. I get it. We are slinging, fists at each other and shins at each other's faces at full speed. Yeah, having steroids in your system is bad. Don't do that. But these medicines can make people better fighters. And not only are they, so we'll take a mushroom, for instance. If you can put it in with a good blend of other things like CBD, turmeric, black pepper, cordyceps mushrooms, lion's mane mushrooms, stuff like that, you're going to actually heal old damage. Okay, so you're going to heal damage through something called epigenetic neurogenesis. That's the healing of the brain matter itself. Okay, then you're going to have a protectant value with things like turmeric, the anti-inflammation, the lion's mane mushrooms. So you're going to protect from further damage. And then you're also going to help heal and not give and receive PTSD, which is what happens while we're in there. People want to be like, I'm too tough for that. I don't get PTSD. No. That's science. It's how it works. And I know you think you're tougher than that, but that's not about being tough. It's just how our bodies naturally react. So yeah, that's what it can do. And cannabis, has very good pain killing properties, anti-inflammation properties. Not everyone should smoke microdosed up on psychedelics. Not everyone should smoke on weed or should fight on weed and fight on psychedelics. But it's some of us can. Most of us already train every single day, high as a kite, because that's where we like to be. And yes, it would be too high for you, but you're not us. You're the one that's paying to see us fight in a cage. So you should probably let us do whatever the fuck we want so we can perform better, as long as it's not illegal. And these are plants. If you can, caffeine's not illegal. Well, I guess in certain amounts, which is insane. I don't know who would take that much. See, I talk to Jeff Nowitzki like all the time. I talk, we go back and forth about things that are on the test. Kratom, is Kratom this, is that? What's testing? If I find certain information, I give it to Jeff. They trust me. The UFC trusts me with this stuff for a reason. They, as Dana White said, I've been bugging them for like 3 years to do a psychedelic study because when I retired, I wanted to kill myself. I obviously wasn't going to. I have a daughter, but I was at the lowest point. The UFC helped me try and fix myself with things like transcranial magnetic stimulation and other things that they offered. The UFC was really, really good to me. So they understand that I went from the worst to now a person who has accomplished some other really cool stuff. And, I get some validation for other things I've done, but I was able to heal myself along the way, and I get to teach about it. I get to actually teach these other fighters these fighters and just people in general, because realistically, I'm just using fighters as an example. They're just my example for how I can fix broken kids, realistically. I know it's a stretch for you to understand, but think of it this way. I always explain this on most podcasts. So take two brains. The brain on your right is an adult. That adult is 30 years old, what have you, makes their own choices, lives a good life, ends up getting a traumatic brain injury doing something they wanted to do. They wanted to go snowboarding or whatever. Hit their head, changes their life forever, ruins their life. Now, you can see, because I can pull up Breck, and you can find them online, I'm sure. Brain scans of brain damage. You can see all the swelling, all the plaque buildup. Okay, that's an adult over here. This other one, this is a child. Okay, the brain damage looks exactly the same. But this child has no traumatic brain injury. This child has been repeatedly raped and abused. So let that sink in. The brain damage looks exactly the same. So why are we getting mad at people when they grow up to be addicts, sluts, or stupid, or crazy, or whatever we want to put on it? And I think if I can show the world, look, I fixed these fighters who were the craziest to begin with because they had to be crazy enough to do the job. And then they got crazier with all the more damage they packed on and the trauma. If I can fix these people, I can fix these kids. Because, we're adults. We already live lives. We made choices. We're here. This is already how we can fix them too. Cool. Everyone deserves to get fixed. But if I can stop the cycle before, then the society, we see how fucked up society is. I don't like society. I've never been more embarrassed to be a human being. Seriously. I've never been more embarrassed to be a human being, not only an American, Jesus. And it's like, we got to fix this. Like, okay, so pharmaceutical drugs killed me. I was in the hospital, and it wasn't like I overdosed and they gave me a shot of Narcan and sent me home. I aspirated, I died. It was gnarly. I had a long talk with doctors and psychologists about it over that week. I was in the hospital. Just to make sure I wasn't trying to kill myself. I'm way too vain. I like life way too much to kill myself. So just if I get suicided by somebody, there will be someone who did it. But okay, so I obviously have something against the pharmaceutical industry. But if this is why I own part of a company called Rizin. Rizin is a pharmaceutical company I can't even work for because it doesn't matter how much stuff I know. I am not a doctor and I'm not a scientist. So I cannot work for my own pharmaceutical company, which hurts my feelings, but at the same time, whatever. I made this, I'm a part of this so I can help as many people as possible. People get mad at me that I work in psychedelics. Bro, you're going through the FDA. That's not cool. You're going through the medical model. And I go, okay, yeah. You obviously don't understand how life works. If for me to make the biggest impact I can possible, I have to go through that model, through that avenue. Me doing over the counter, doing other stuff, it's not going to work. I have to make the biggest change possible through this way, through the FDA, because if I can get a bunch of doctors to now start over prescribing these microdoses, these psilocybin microdoses that we're making, if I can have them overprescribe those just like they overprescribed all those pills, or like they're still overprescribing pills and killing all those people, then man, I have affected a lot of people in a very, very beneficial way. And you see, I've got this all planned out. I think outside the box. So yeah, that's the long and the short of it, I guess.
That's like, so you think, oh, geez, sorry, I'm stuttering there. The
It's all
way,
right.
like, it's mad to see the beneficial effects of psychedelics, because like on the media, you never ever hear people say about the positives. It's always the negatives. So obviously, would you, in your experience, would you say there's more positives than negatives to psychedelics?
Yeah, the only negative that comes with psychedelics is people abusing them psychologically or spiritually. Your body will not let you abuse them physically because your body just doesn't. Your body has, receptors that get full, and then you don't feel anything after that. So that's really, and I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people lose their minds on psychedelics. Yes, it's true, but these are people with prior conditions. So if you're going to do it, is also something that I teach is harm prevention. You have to be careful. So go talk with a doctor, talk to them about psychedelics, talk to them about your medicines. You have to get with a cool doctor first, because I'm sure over there, especially, doctors will discriminate against you for sure. But get with a doctor that's cool, or look up the Spirit Pharmacist, Dr. Ben Malcolm. He can tell you what psychedelics or what medicines work with what psychedelics in which ways, because you can give yourself something like serotonin syndrome, or you can kind of mess with yourself. So you got to be careful. And the main thing with these medicines, and we'll say crazy people, because crazy is a word you can use. I tried not to use it recently because someone I know went crazy, and a doctor friend of mine goes, "No, you can use it. You can use fucking crazy because it's a good word." Doctors use it all the time. I was like, okay, cool. But if someone is a little crazy, it's okay. But it's about taking care of that person. Okay. If you have psychotic episodes in your life, it doesn't mean you can't do psychedelics. It means you have to take better precautions. Setting, and intention. Okay. So mindset. What's my mindset going into this? Setting, where am I? Who am I with? What's the music? I recommend going in with an actual, maybe with a psychologist, because there's a lot of psychologists who are doing this in the underground. A lot of them. I know that because I talk to them. They come to me they ask me questions. It's pretty cool. Because they know they're out of their depth. They have no idea. They have a bunch of schooling in something that works kind of barely. But their tools are amazing if you can have the breakthroughs. So setting an intention. What is your intention? What are you trying to accomplish by doing this? Then from there, you go through the whole journey and you have integration after. So how are we going to integrate the things that we learned in our trip into our daily life?
That is absolutely astounding. Like, I can't even wrap my head around that. How did you get into psychedelics? Like, because that is madness.
Well, my dad is an old hippie. He smuggled dope in the 70s. Not only cannabis, but that was dope back then. And he always told me stories of how beneficial they were. I always knew, I'd started taking psychedelics when I was like 12 or 13. I started smoking cannabis when I was 8, which is way too young. But it was at my house. My dad and my brother smoked it, and those are the two coolest people in my life. So I was like, yeah. I walked in on my brother smoking, and he was 11. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, smoking. I was like, what? Just weed. I was like, where'd you get it? He's like, Dad. I said, hey, sign me up. Sign me up. What? Yes. What are you talking about? I'm just talking about the first time I ever smoked pot. Anyways, I'm on this thing. Maybe not. I tell her everything. You better tell me everything. I do tell you everything. But here, I gotta talk to people. Why? Because I'm on an interview. Have fun. I'm hungry. Look. Hold on. I'm busy. Mm-hmm. I know. I like it. I'll talk. Go. I love you. She's my everything. She knows it. But I mean, she knows. She knows what I've done for a living. I worked in cannabis. That was how I supported myself for fighting my whole life. Was working in cannabis. And before she was born, I was still a drug dealer. I had the DEA raiding my house. I went to jail when I was in the UFC because the DEA raided my house. I wasn't selling anything then. I was like, I'm world champion. I don't need to do that. Like, okay, it was a bad tip they got, but it's something that healed her. Cannabis healed her. She was sick at 2.5 years old. She couldn't walk. So she knows. She has a story to be told with how cannabis saved her life. That's more crazy parts that we're not told enough around the world, that like how much these medicines can help people. Everything for me goes back to kids. Like adults, we'll fix them as much as we can, but we got a lot more work to do with kids.
Like in our part of the world, in Ireland, like weed is so stigmatized. Like when you think, like, we come from Ireland is an old Catholic country at the end of the day, and we're like, a lot of our parents would have been brought up on the values that are, drugs are wrong and blah 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 blah. So it becomes very stigmatized. But I think now with our generation and the generation coming after us, it's becoming less stigmatized. Like even when you look around Dublin City, you see everyone smokes weed now, and I think it's a better thing for the culture even.
Oh yeah, for sure. And once we make it a cash crop from around the world, it's gonna benefit everybody. I mean, the last time when I was in Dublin and in Belfast, you guys had really good herb. You guys had really good herb actually from Holland. And I was just like I wasn't shocked, but I was like, oh rad, this is cool. It's something that I've, like, everywhere I've gone around the world, someone's always brought me pot to smoke because they know I smoke. And for how many people will smoke when it's more open? How many people already do smoke? I mean, this could be the largest cash crop in the world by far, and it could make everyone. That's jobs. That's taxes. That's a lot. And why not? I mean, you start with hemp. You can create concrete out of hemp. You can create. I mean, and mushrooms has even more. Things to apply it to. It's crazy. So like, watch, within the next decade, you'll see mushrooms and cannabis or hemp becoming a really, really, really big thing for people around the world.
Yeah, a few hemp stores and CBD stores are starting to pop up here and there around Ireland.
Yeah, cannabis or hemp, even just non-psychoactive hemp is going to be so beneficial for people. I mean, just adding CBD in a million different products is going to be beneficial. Skincare, food stuff, and medicines, and it's really, really, really good for us. I mean, even eating cannabis is really good for you. I eat it constantly. And not just like brownies and stuff. Actually, eating like whole leaf and whole nug cannabis is really, really good for you. It's got a full amino acid profile. It's good.
It's mad how something that's obviously it's legal in America, but something that's so beneficial to people's lives can still be illegal in Ireland, and it's like very illegal. Like it's not
Yeah,
even
very.
Nasty.
Yeah, well, very illegal is probably the worst way to put it, but it's like extremely like something that there's zero tolerance for in Ireland, and it has such benefits.
Yeah, and you get treated like an actual criminal. Like I used to be treated that same exact way. I get it. Like I said, I had 3-letter agencies knocking on my door because of that sort of stuff. So it's like it's not a fun look. It's not a fun thing to be a part of. You're like, oh man. But yeah, it's gonna help the world, and just watch mushrooms. Like I was telling you, mushrooms have a way bigger impact, or they're going to. They're going to clean out the air and the soil and fix everyone's brains and provide a good food source, and we can create a lot of stuff out of the clothes. Man, there's just goes on.
You think Oh no, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to ask: are mushrooms illegal in California at the moment, or are they legal?
Illegal. They've become decriminalized in a few different places, but that doesn't really do much, to be honest. Like I've got a position over the political movement and make donations and stuff to another, and it's a start. We'll just put it that way. It's a start, but things need to change still.
Yeah, definitely, sooner the better.
Yeah.
I think when we go back to your fighting career, someone that suffered like a lot of injuries. Like I was very surprised when I was doing the research for the podcast how many actually fights you had cancelled, like 6 in a row. Yeah. And but do you think if you had these drugs available to you and the research at the time, it maybe would have helped your career in a way?
Well, of course. I didn't quite. Yeah, I didn't really know about all this stuff back then. Not like I do now, at least. And yeah, if I would have had it, if I would have known about this stuff 10 years ago, I'd probably still be champion. I would have stayed sober and been. Yeah, that was my main thing. Is I was high the whole time. The only time I became sober, and off opiates was when I became the best in the world. I was on pills from 14 to 34. So, I know I could have accomplished way more, but I can't get that time back.
Like I know you're saying things that you have not accomplished, but you still did fight for a UFC title and more the first flyweight inside the UFC octagon, and and bringing someone like Demetrius Johnson all the way to decision. And well, technically you lost, and it was a draw, and then you probably should have won going into that last round. But like I couldn't. It must be surreal knowing that, seeing Demetrius Johnson going on to what he did do. I must know I was the only man to actually really push him to the brink, other than Henry Cejudo in the last fight.
It makes me realize that I'm as good as I like to believe. It makes me sound like a cocky asshole. But yeah, I'm really good at this. That's the thing. I'm kind of allowed to be about it because at one point I was one of the most feared people on the planet. That's kind of cool. And I look at it this way, though. I use everything as my life as an example. Now, if because they were positioning me to be the first Conor, And not saying I'm Conor McGregor, but I would have done very well myself because I'm a good businessman, and I'm not like other fighters, obviously. Would I have been able to accomplish what DJ did? Let's say, would I have been able to get to 11 or 12 title defenses with all that money, all that fame, all that attention? Probably not. I'll just be honest. Maybe, but I doubt it. I'd probably be dead. My life would have been crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I would have liked that. I would have liked to have not gotten screwed in Australia, but I did. And I used that point as a tipping point for me to start using drugs again. That's when I started using drugs again, was when I got home. Whereas DJ used that point as a time to get better and become the best in the world ever.
Yeah, it's one of those things, the what ifs, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Something I've always kind of been curious about. It's a bit off topic, but where did Uncle Creepy come from? That I just found. Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, it was a bad joke that the UFC ran with, and they loved it. Like, I thought it was so stupid. And I still can't change it. All I want to do is change my fucking Instagram handle and social media to just my name, because that's my name, and I don't like Uncle Creepy. But I can't without paying like $4 or $5 grand for it. So I've just been holding off. So stupid. But I was fresh out of rehab. This was right before I started fighting again. After WEC, it was my second time in rehab. And I was sober. I was just like, all right, I'm a sober guy. It's fine. Like, I can. I went up to go see the first two places I went after I got out of rehab were Vegas to see my friends, and the place where I went to college. And I stayed sober. Staying sober wasn't the hard part. For me, I just wanted to go chase girls and see my friends. But I go up there. I'm driving everyone around. Everyone's hammered, and we get everyone back to the house finally. It's probably like 3 or 4 in the morning. And my friend's son, Uncle Ian, he's still awake, trying to put him to bed. A bunch of drunk adults in the house. And mind you, I always made fun of everyone with nicknames. Like, ooh, Chuck Liddell, fucking freeze me. Oh, no, like, I just think they're so stupid. And of course, and I just like making fun of all my friends. But I'm trying to put him to bed. Everyone just hears, Uncle Ian, Uncle Creepy. And everyone sat up and went, oh, that's it. That's your nickname. And I was like, fuck. All right, well, and then my coach, I don't know if I was already getting ready for a fight at that point, or if he offered it shortly after. But he's like, you need money, right? I was basically living at the gym. I didn't have a real job, or I don't think I did. I was just a guy that was a loser that was fresh out of rehab. He's like, yeah, fight this guy. And I was like, all right, cool, I can beat him. I knew the person. And actually, my teammate had just beaten him in like 3.5 minutes. So I was like, all right, I'll do it in 2.5. So it was more or less like, I'm screwed. I don't take anything serious. And I wrote it down. I wrote Uncle Creepy down, and I had the fight, and I beat him in like 2.5 minutes, like I said, or less. And then I think the next fight, I signed to fight the best fight, to fight Formiga. That's when I became the best in the world. And in between there, so, okay, this is a funny story. In between that fight and the Formiga fight, that's when I had that overdose. I was sober for like 18 months, and then I overdosed, and I ended up in the hospital. And like halfway through the hospital stay, my agent calls me and goes, hey, man, you're back in the game after that win. People are stoked, excited to see you. They want you to fight the best guy at a lower weight class. And I was like, he said, where are you? I was like, kind of busy right now. Oh, fuck, man, what? And I told them, and they're like, wait, what? Like, what happened? I was like, I'm good. I'm just embarrassed. Don't come here. Send me the contract. I signed it on my phone, sent it to him, and we signed it. And yeah. So yeah, I signed to fight the best guy in the world from a hospital bed. More proof shows I'm just physically better than most people. I'm not bragging. I've just been doing this my whole life, and I've physically put myself up against other people forever, and I'm just better. That's just how it works. I'm able to have an overdose and die, and then fight the best guy in the world like 2 months later and win. It's not. It's weird. I know. It's a lot. I live a very strange life.
I really hope you have that on your CV, because that's something I'd be telling everybody. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I got a lot of stories. There's a book coming out eventually. I don't know when.
I was gonna say the first thing you should do is bring out a book, a memoir of Ian McCall.
Yeah, I've got to. For the book to be released, we have a lot of writing to do, for one, and number two, I have to have some point where I have a reason to release a book. Like Chuck always told me, he goes, "Yo, man, when you release your book, you become world champion, and then you release your book. So you have a big reason to do it." And I fucked that one up. So, what is my next reason? What's I have to accomplish something. I thought going on HBO would be good enough, or this UFC study or all this stuff, but it's not. It's me doing work for other people. It's me doing things to help others. So yeah, I have to figure out some reason to release a book. For me, just there has to be a point to it, and I'd rather it not be my death.
Hopefully not. Would it be in the world's first psychedelic integration coach for high level sports? I believe. Would that be
high level
the reasons?
High level performers, high level, because I work with motivational speakers. I work with people that are fresh out of rehab and addiction, and they don't want to tell their sponsor that they're trying to heal permanently and not just go through a loop of rehab. So they turn to psychedelics, and it works. I work with Olympians. I work with professional athletes, amateur athletes. There's a bunch of people. The wording sounds fancy. It sounds like, oh, I don't know. It would just made me sound cool, basically.
Gotta take them opportunities when they come.
Right? It's all about marketing, advertising, smoke and mirrors for the most part. But
So this the company is called the McCall Method. Just for anyone who is watching who doesn't really understand the basic gist, is there any way you can sum up everything in one?
Yes, the McCall Method is. It started with psychedelics. I'm an integration coach for psychedelics, but like I said, to teach you how to integrate these things into your daily life, whether you're trying to do it as a couple. I helped write the first couples integration program. We didn't really write a program, but I do parenting because people are horrible parents. It's fucking crazy. And they look at me like, "You're the best parent ever." I'm like, "I know, right? It's not that hard. Like, how are you messing this up so bad?" But people are just lost in their program, and it's just, so there's a lot of work to do. So realistically, it turned into kind of like a life coaching thing. I don't like calling myself a life coach, but I help people with diet and exercise and mindfulness and the psychedelic stuff, because it's just all encompassing. If I'm going to have you performing at your highest level, you have to be a better person. You have to work on yourself as a person, because we are all broken children, and we all have trauma stored inside of our tissue. That's how it works. Bad things happen to us as we're growing up, and that stuff gets stored in here, and then our minds block it out. Our default mode network goes, "Nope, you can't hear it. You don't even know it's there, but it's stuck in there." And then let's say, for instance, when you're going to perform, when you're going to climb into a cage to fight, you all of a sudden, I have octagon jitters. I'm a pussy. Well, no, you're here. You're not. You're a very tough individual. You just have not dealt with certain things in your life that are giving you anxiety, depression, and all this stuff. And that's what happens. The trauma gets stuck there, and it will create issues in your life. IBS, depression, whatever. Okay, that's stuff is all tied back to inflammation. And then later on in life, those bad things, that inflammation, will then lead you to cancer, ALS, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Like I told you, my daughter got sick. These things they will kill you eventually. That's what happens. That's what stress does. It will kill you. But with my daughter, there's a big reason why I'm not so proud of what I did during that time. Her mother and I was raising her myself, but I wasn't any better than her mother. Her mother was on drugs and rehab and jail and stuff. I was on TV making a bunch of money, but I was famous, whatever the fuck that means. We stressed my daughter out so much. Me being gone, me being on drugs, me having new girlfriends every few months. Just the craziness. It stressed my daughter out so much, she got sick. She came down with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, couldn't walk straight, couldn't think straight. She couldn't even walk at all. And knowing that, knowing that's what I did to my own kid, that's rough. That's a lot. That sucks. That's, again, you see why this is my mission, is because I fucked up and I did it to my own kid, and I don't want anyone to go through this stuff. I don't want the kids to go through this stuff. And that means I don't want the parents to put them through that stuff. So I have to work on the parents as well. We have to kind of fix this whole cycle of everyone just everything's just crazy, but you kind of see how mine went back from healing my own kid to healing myself to now trying to heal everybody else, with very basic things, man, things that grow out of the ground. Like, why are we trying to put something in our body that's made in a lab? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
This could change the world by the sounds of it. Like, the most natural products it's found literally in the ground, and it seems to like help everyone who could get involved with it. It's like hard to get your head around, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have parents come to me all the time. I heard what you did with your kid, or this kid, this other kid, whatever. And like, well, where do I get it from? And I'm like, number one, you don't need to whisper. We're in California. You can go to a fucking place, but I'll get it for you. And I at least direct them where to get it. Give them, I take time to talk to them for hours if they need. And I don't charge everybody I work with, obviously, but that's it. Very simple things people can do to change their lives, like smiling, smile and laugh. You're having a bad day, you're depressed. Yeah, wake up in the morning. This is what I had to do. I had to wake up. I wanted to kill myself. I woke up every morning. I got up and I looked in the mirror and I smiled, and I literally stared at myself until I was laughing and until I was smiling, and it worked. And then finally, now I just wake up happy. And now I'm always happy. And like, for instance, with me, I wake up, I come outside, a little breath work, meditation. Now I'm more into Kundalini yoga, so I do my morning sadhana outside to talk to to pray to the raw God, the sun God. But get up in the morning and come outside, stand in the sun, some breath work, some meditation, a little bit of yoga, smoke a joint with my cat or the dog or whoever's outside. Tell people like, hey, look, how are you? You look beautiful today. I love you. Like, that's the first thing you get out of your mouth. Like, how's it going? What's up? Like, what are you doing today? You look really good today. Just constantly trying to be happy and have a good positive energy to people. And also taking time to like conversate with people. We're all stuck inside, right? I think everyone around the world is pretty much still stuck inside.
Yeah.
Make those people's lives better by just making them happy, just by a simple hello. That will in turn make your life better, because what it does, it changes your chemistry in your brain. All the different muscles that you making a smile actually turns on your body to make those happy drugs instead of bad drugs. So then you're actually changing your chemistry, and you're biohacking. So that's the very beginning of biohacking. You don't need to take anything to do it. You can just do it with just a simple movement of your face.
You say you start every morning by meditating. I've always wanted to try it, and like I've always wanted to do it, but I don't know. I always just thought, I don't know how to do it. I don't think I'm that person to do it. Is there any recommendations you'd make on how to get into that mindset of meditating?
Yes, it depends on how much you want to spend. Either because, dude, it's hard. Meditation is like one of the banes of my existence. I've been meditating for a long time and I suck at it. Like, I stuck at it so bad, I'm looking into probably going to a 10-day silent meditation retreat where I don't shut up. I won't be able to talk for 10 days and I'll have to sit in the dark for 10 days. That just shows you how hard this is for me. So you have apps. Calm, I think, is an app. There's meditation apps out there. Get an app. They'll put you through guided meditation that are very, very good. I downloaded all of them because I was looking into making an app kind of recently. And but I'm not. But just looking into that stuff, they're great. There's a lot of cool little toys that are little things you can do on their games and stuff they have, and things to read and music to listen to. And then also another company that I work with is called Brain Tap. So it's little headphones you put on. They have a visor that comes down, and it has lights, LED lights in your ears, LED lights in your eyes, and you have Dr. Porter's voice, his amazing voice, putting you through guided meditations, talking you through, there's stuff for sleep, there's stuff for getting ready for work, there's stuff for a bunch of different ways you can kind of make meditation work. So yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do. I mean, there's you can go on IG Live. There's people putting out guided meditations constantly, yoga stuff, all that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to look into something. It's something I've wanted to do for so long now.
Martial arts helps. It's a good place too. Or yoga. Go get into a yoga room. Go do a really hard, like Bikram or hot yoga class, and then just sit there and just meditate for as long as you can, as long as they'll let you.
Do you think martial arts is a way of helping and dealing with stuff like that? As you say, everyday stress or problems at home or problems in general? Yes.
Martial arts is key for me. I have to work out pretty much every day. But martial arts it's like what I tell the kids that I've always taught in martial arts. I said, look, I'm holding you to a higher standard of living. You're a martial artist. I'm teaching you things to help other people and to help yourself. So you're the first person that has to step in and help somebody. You're the first person that steps in to help protect someone. If it's physical, yeah, that's what happens. That's what we do. And also getting the energy out, getting that violence out. Not that long ago, we were beating each other to death with rocks, sticks, so it's still in our tissue. It's still ingrained in our epigenetics. So yeah, it's really important for us to get the aggression out, even if we don't quite understand why. And then also the confidence it gives you, and because then you can actually protect yourself from danger. And then this world's still full of dangerous situations and people.
It's like you never see a happier bunch of people unless you see a lot of stoned people doing jiu-jitsu rolling around on the mats.
Right. So yeah, what does that tell you? I mean, and the dorkiest people too. It's so funny to watch.
They say the biggest dork in the world now at the moment is Israel Adesanya. I mean, he's probably one of the most dangerous people in the UFC.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a huge nerd, isn't he? And that's what I like to tell people. Like, look, a lot of us are dorks. I just so happened to get really good at fist fighting. I got really good at something, and I left science behind. I wish I would have become a scientist. Maybe not a doctor, but a scientist for sure. I finally get validation from all the dorks, all these fucking dorks I work with. I'm like, nerds. But I'm one of them. I get validation. I mean, MAPS. So MAPS is the multiple disciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They are the biggest and oldest organization in the world. They just hired me on to be a speaker, a keynote speaker with them. My first paid speaking gig in psychedelics. I finally get validation from these dorks. I finally feel like one of them. Yes, it makes me so happy because it's all I want. You know, like my love language is physical validation, I guess. You know, is validation for the fact like that's all I've searched for. It's like searching for gold. Look, trophy, look, mom, dad, look, trophy, look, coach, look, this belt, yeah, huh. You know, like that's been my whole life, and I haven't got validation in quite a while. So it's nice to just have, you know, Dana White say my name, with all the stuff, you know, in psychedelics, and have these companies reaching out to me and speaking gigs like MAPS, because it's a different kind of validation now. I want everyone to see, like, I want everyone to pay attention to what I'm doing because people need to know about it. It's my job to tell people about psychedelics and to be that annoying friend that's like, hey, have you heard about psychedelics? Hey, we should talk about psychedelics. Oh, that's all I want to talk about. But like, that's all I talk about. And you know, it's nice to not only just be a talking head, but actually be someone who is I pride myself on doing the right thing, checking on all the boxes. Like I work politically, I work, you know, psycho-spiritually. I'm a preacher for a church. I work, I just check all the boxes.
What they say, jack of all trades, he does it all.
Well, I do one thing really well. I do psychedelics really well. I'm a professional drug taker.
And also a pioneer of the 125-pound division.
Yes, that's old news. That's old. People, I'm surprised if you. How old are you guys?
19 in August. 19 in August.
Yeah, how you guys were little kids when I was doing this shit. You guys remember me? How the fuck?
I always remember you from playing UFC, not before UFC 2, the first UFC on PS4. John Jones and Gus, and you and Demetrius Johnson were the two highest rated fighters at 125. That's why I was on. Yeah, I was at the big mustache.
Yes,
they like points at the end of it.
I remember getting the checks for that game, like the paychecks, and they wrote me this beautiful long letter about how I'm, you know, one of the most used players in that weight class. All this, blowing a bunch of smoke at my ass, and then I saw the check, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "How?" I've never been so bummed to get a check like that. It wasn't much money. It was like $5,000, and I was just like, "I know this check made you billions." I was like, I feel a little cut a little low there. I've been friends with Dana White since I was like 19. I know the ins and outs of this business very well, and I've known it since that age. That's how my brain works. I have to analyze and know everything about something. Yeah, they need to start paying people more money.
One of my big questions was the funny kind of smaller fires don't get paid as much as maybe the bigger fires, and that do you ever feel like the flyweight division is disrespected by the UFC and Dana?
It's kind of my fault, I think. They were priming to pay me a lot of money, and I dropped the ball. You can't become Conor if you lose, or you can't become a star like that if you lose. I didn't keep up my end of the bargain. And I think if we would have had someone who people can really connect with, that's what it takes. People can't connect with, you know, Figueiredo because he doesn't speak English. And I don't think he does. Do people connect with him even in Brazil? I have no idea.
I wouldn't be the biggest fan of Figueiredo.
I'm a big fan of his fighting style. He's a savage. But you know, like, yeah, it's about personality, and we haven't had a flyweight with personality. The only person was Henry, and Henry's, you know, Henry even asked me, he's like, "What do you think, bro?" I was like, "About what?" He's like, "About my old King of Cringe," and I was like, "What? Excuse me?" I was like, "Yo, my nickname is Uncle Creepy. What the fuck do I know?" I was like, "You got the reaction you wanted? Yeah, okay, then good job." Like, you know, I shouldn't think that shit's stupid, but like, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not even a fighter. But like, you know, it's people are not going to connect with him completely because it's all done out of negativity. it's done the wrong way. Like that's one thing, man. I think Henry can be so marketable. He's a fucking Olympian gold medalist. The two division like that's got gold written all over it. But it's just he wanted to play the heel. Some people like playing the heel. Some people don't care. So that's his thing. Like I think that we're gonna need some flyweight upstart that they probably show from like the Contender Series all the way up, and they can take his whole life and likeness and create content behind it and create a story, because that's what they need. Everything has to be done that way now, and that's how that's how you create stars, and the UFC has the capabilities to do that. So they just need someone that's got personality, and apparently us little people have none. So
it seems to be a reoccurring theme with the 125-pound division. I remember they done it with the Ultimate Fighter with Tim Elliott. During when Tim Elliott won and he got a shot at Demetrius Johnson, they were trying to build up these characters to preferably beat. I think Dana wanted someone to beat Demetrius Johnson, just so they could have a bit of personality in the division.
Yeah, they were really mad at me for not beating him. It is what it is. It's yeah. Again, you see how crazy the situation is. It would have been way different.
It looks as if it's worked out so much better, though. You seem to be nearly saving lives at this stage rather than cashing checks.
I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at.
And inflicting damage. It seems to be you're in a better place now that you're retired and you're doing what you really want to do instead of punching people in the face for a living.
Yeah, and I can make way more money doing this than doing fighting, and not hurt myself. I put my time in. I paid my dues in fighting, and I gave something. I gave a piece of myself to the sport, and I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of what I did, and I'm just not proud of who I was. I guess that's a better way to put it. And yeah, now it's time I do other things. I mean, I've even got another business called the Scoring Senate, where we're trying to change scoring and judging of fighting. And it's not because I got screwed, but it's because that's why they contacted me. But it's because other people are getting screwed left and right, and I don't like that. So anything that I can do to help my community and these fighters that I feel like, they're my people. So I have to help them.
God, someone is starting a business for that, because the judges and the referees in UFC are horrific.
Horrendous.
Well, we're coming just past the hour mark, so I have 2 questions to leave you with, Ian, if you don't mind. The first one is probably completely ridiculous, but we've asked every UFC star. So, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, what do you think?
I was at Logan's house the other night.
No way.
I run in very, very weird circles. That's honestly a big reason why I think people do think I'm cool, or cooler than I am. I didn't accomplish much. I fucked up my whole fighting career. I've just got really famous friends, a bunch of really famous people I hang out with, and they're just my friends, the people I know. Like I'm sorry, but yeah, okay. It's Logan Paul or Jake Paul. I go back and forth because Ben looks like shit always. And he is the worst representative for us to have for the sport. For us to like have someone that's going to stand up for us and do us right. Yeah, like the worst guy ever. If he wins, if Ben wins, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be him roughing him up because he's a savage. No matter what, he's still a fucking savage. He still won, the Bellator title, and he's a badass motherfucker, but he's not a boxer. So it's gonna have to be really ugly if he does it. Where I think Jake Paul will come out and probably have better technique. But you saw the confrontation in the where he pushed his face. You saw what happened when someone touched me at weigh-in. A real fighter is going to punch you back. And he did the weakest, like not even a push. It was like, and then a body shot that was like, bro, what the fuck was that? You're not a fighter. Wow. And I get it. Those boys are athletes. They are very good athletes. They're big, they're strong, they're well trained. Like I know I met Logan because my chef is my nutritionist from my career is who he works with. They have the best training camps you can afford because they've got more money than everybody else. So, there's a lot of variables here. I just think that Ben might pull it off strictly on the fact that he's an actual fighter. And the fact that, like, I think, did Jake wrestle in college or just high school?
I don't know if it was high school or was it. I think Logan was the one that wrestled in college. I know.
Logan wrestled in high school. I'm not sure.
High school.
I've never really met Jake. I've only kind of been in the same room as him. But like, there's a big difference between an Olympic wrestler and a guy that was good in high school. Just the mentality. So it's like, we might see Jake Paul shock the world. It's not going to be that shocking. It's really not going to be that shocking. But Ben's going to be in shape to go. I think though. I don't know, man. It's so confusing. After seeing that weigh-in thing, though, I lost a lot of faith in Jake being able to, like, really put it on him or not, or break him, hurt him enough where Ben will actually fold. But at the same time, I just think Ben's embarrassing. If anyone's going to embarrass the whole sport of MMA, it's going to be him. And I know, oh my God, I won't say figures, but I learned what he's getting paid and what he could have got paid if he would have negotiated. Oh my God, you idiot. Oh, wow. Again, I get all the inside information on all kinds of stuff. And what a moron. Just put it this way. I know for a fact he could have gotten 3 to 4 times what he's getting paid. But that's besides the point. A real fight. I'm going to go with Ben. I'll take MMA. I'll take MMA and just say Ben's going to win. Just off pure toughness.
Yeah, I'd say if I was giving my prediction, I'd say it would be probably Ben. Sorry.
I think everyone in MMA hopes it's going to be Ben. The thoughts of Jake Paul saying that he beat an MMA fighter you'll never hear it. You'll never hear the end of it.
Well, and if Conor, I don't see the UFC letting Conor go beat him up if Conor wins, and that's the thing, can Conor win? I think Conor can, but will Conor? Yeah, I mean, what other MMA fighters are going to go over there and fight him? I'm not sure.
It's very hard to get an MMA fighter because for them it makes no sense. Jake Paul has nothing to lose by doing this. It only inflates his ego. It's hard to get.
It's money. They're offering big paydays, big paydays. So I mean, the UFC would for surely let someone go do it. It's about who matches up properly. And I don't even know. I'm trying to think who's that size. Yeah, I mean, it would have to just be an offer that's made, and they'd have to figure it out because there's so many people in roster.
Yeah, sorry, Dad, go on.
I don't think Jake Paul wants to fight someone his own size, but I think we've seen with his last 3 opponents, he wants to fight people that are at least 20 or 30 pounds smaller than him to give him a better chance, of course, because like I even saying at the press conference, I'm like, this is the fight game. I felt like saying, just shut the fuck up. Ben Askren's been in there with people like Robbie Lawler slamming on his head or Douglas Lima trying to take his kneecap off. Like, we put you in that situation, you don't last 20, 30 seconds, No.
I mean, yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, they're decent wrestlers. They look like they're decent wrestlers from videos I've seen. Yeah, I think that'll be it'll be entertaining to watch. I'll watch it, I'm sure.
Something I think we're going to have to throw in here just for the marketing point of view. If you're talking to Logan anytime, tell him we'd love to go on the podcast. We'd love to get the Mountain of Mind podcast crossover with Impulsive.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on that fucking show. So good luck. I don't even know if I can get on there. Yeah, it's they're I don't know. Like I said, I know we have the same chef. That's how I know him. But I'll work on it. I'm hopefully going to see him soon.
That is mad. Just loads of celebrity friends. But the last
Yeah.
question to
Yes.
to throw at you, I suppose, probably the most important question of the entire podcast. If you could market the McCall Method, everything you've been doing since retirement, to get everyone to check it out, how would you do that, and what would you like to say?
How would I like to market it? Well, I need to just go on all those podcasts. I need to go on Rogan's. I need to go on Aubrey Marcus's. I need to go on, Sam Harris. I need to go on all these people's podcasts to market myself, because that's the best way to do it. I don't need to team up with anybody else. I just need to market and advertise and go from there, because I've got everything else laid out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ian, you've been absolutely amazing. It's probably been the most interesting person I've probably ever talked to. Thanks so much for coming on.
It's been so interesting. Thanks, Ian. You've really changed my perspective on a lot of things, and it's been really interesting. Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening.
Hope everyone watched it. Thanks.
It's been Thank you to today's sponsor of the podcast, Blossom Creations, homemade cards made to order and perfect for every occasion. Thank you to the lovely people at Blossom Creations.